So Phil, it's another episode.
It is another episode. How you doing, Cap?
I am doing quite well, is how I'm doing. Allergy season aside, being in full effect. It's a 60-degree day today. It's beautiful out. Kids are playing at the park as if the air isn't poison. And it's a nice day. It's a spring day. I already took my nap. How my allergies affect me, I'm sure I've said this before, is I get itchy. You can see I'm scratching myself. And I get very, very tired. So the cure to getting tired is this mixed with this, which is coffee. And the coffee is hot, and my room is about 80 degrees, my spare room. There's no air conditioner.
Sounds like a perfect combination, hot coffee in a hot room.
So
can't imagine why you'd be hot.
So pardon the beads of sweat on my forehead, and pardon the dog. He's feeling the heat too. He hasn't shed his coat yet. So it's a chill atmosphere. If I collapse, I don't know what to tell you. Should I have made you co-host on this so you could stop the recording upon my collapsing?
Yeah, I can just make some announcement, to the people after the fact, because that's going to help a lot in a post recording. Right.
And I don't know if people can see my shirt. Let me tilt down a little bit. I noticed you wearing Kaplowitz Media, so I felt the need to mark out for.
Yeah, last year I was wearing Kaplowitz Media, but this time I'm wearing a Be Cool to Each Other, which you can't see because of the mic.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, because we could put that opaque censored box in front of whatever. Apparently that's the thing.
Yeah, there's a story behind that, but I don't care to get into it. It's just a shirt that so when I do my reviews, I do them in the morning. I usually throw on a shirt while I'm setting up. And so I had everything set up. I sit down, and it was probably, I don't even remember when the censor box went away, but probably about 3/4 of the way through, in between recording, I'm looking down, and I'm like, oh, crap, I shouldn't be wearing this shirt, because the shirt actually, it wouldn't have been a good shirt for the review, I'll just say that. It wasn't inappropriate. It just, the people that gave me that shirt would probably not have appreciated that shirt being in a cigar review. So that's why I had to do that, and then I went and switched.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, I thought it was a nipple issue.
Well, it could have been a nipple issue, too. Yeah, however people want to remember, it's fine with me. I don't care.
As long as they remember it.
As long as they remember it. As long as they remember it. That's what it's all about.
And I think we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. That's one of the topics. And speaking of topics, we've discussed, I think we've discussed publicly, I know we've discussed privately, you and I, Phil, that we don't like people reading off of stuff while they're, presenting. But you're going to catch me, you gentlepersons. Well, I have gentlepersons. Have you named your audience yet?
Yeah, you asked me this last time. I still haven't named my audience. I don't know that I have enough credibility to name an audience yet.
Oh,
well, I'll be honest, or at all. So I don't even know. I don't even know what I would name them. the sufferers.
You could get real personal. You could call them by their name. Like, I have gentlepersons and you have Ted.
Yeah, Ted. Hey, Teds. I'll just refer to everybody as one name, so they're my Teds or something.
Anyway, I'm going to be keeping track of topics, and you're going to be keeping track of time. So being the topic guy, I am going to kind of have a checklist of stuff that I'm going to be scrolling through on my smart device. And so it's nice to know that we could say one thing and do another without being hypocrites, Phil.
Right. Yeah, because it's, as Norm Macdonald said, I don't know if you saw that skit, but it just popped in my head when you said that. Norm Macdonald said about the Bill Cosby thing, it wasn't so much what Bill Cosby had done, it was the fact that he was a hypocrite. That's what really burnt Norm Macdonald, is that he was a hypocrite.
Well, it's inexcusable.
Yeah.
It's absolutely inexcusable. So, anyway, what I'm smoking is just an unbanded something I grabbed from an auxiliary humidor, and I'm having a little bit of a burn issue with it. So we'll see how it goes. But what are you smoking anything, or are you in studio not smoking?
I'm smoking the La Lujuria by Acosta Cigars. Excellent cigar.
Excellent cigars. Actually, if I could plug myself on my own show, which I don't see why not, coming up in a little bit, I'm going to be doing an Instagram interview with the owner of Acosta, and that should be fun. I've been liking doing those Instagram interviews. And
they've been good.
People have been listening to them. I cut back my main show, my Kaplowitz radio podcast. I cut that back from once a week to once a month. And I've been filling in the blanks with that and with some audio reviews. And, you know, I mean, to be full disclosure, to offer transparency here, it's easier and it's more fun.
Yeah, and your interviews, if I can give you a little compliment. First of all, talking Acosta Cigars too, speaking with him on Instagram, I've just DM'd him back and forth. Super nice guy. So just want to say that too. Really nice guy. But your interviews, and I've told you this before the show, and I watch all your Instagram interviews. And it's not just because we're friends. I actually enjoy them. But I've told you before that I don't like calling them interviews because I don't think you really come off as interviewing. You come off with chatting with them, which is actually a compliment. It doesn't come off as like a stock interview. It comes off like you two are chatting and he happens to be, or the person you interview just happens to be talking about their cigar. That's how I usually take them.
Yeah, and first of all, the nomenclature of interview is something I feel like I have to use because that's what's familiar.
Sure.
That's the vernacular. That's what people get. That's what the hashtag could be. We're talking Instagram. But these are folks that I'm
Hold on, were you saying the hashtag would be vernacular?
No, the hashtag, well, I wonder. But no, the hashtag would be
use the hashtag vernacular.
Should I do that?
I think so.
I could do hashtag chat, I guess. But,
hashtag vernacular probably has like, I don't know, 22.5K posts or something like that.
I would imagine. It's a very oft used word. But I'm friends with these people. These are guys that I legitimately like to speak to, that for the most part I speak to, quote unquote, off the record, and we get to meet up on Instagram through the power of the internet, and it's a hoot, and it's nice to touch base with them. Every time I patch them through, and I've said it on one of them, I think with Val, every time they patch through, it's like you can see we're each happy to see each other.
Right.
And I think that translates even beyond the video into the audio when I make it a podcast on the other side. You could hear that it's like friends that are about to talk a little treason or just shoot the feces.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, even when I've listened to your interviews before, this is kind of becoming a Kaplowitz radio, but that's fine with me because it's good stuff. Even when I've listened to your interviews before,
I'm sorry.
No. Even when I've listened to your interviews before Instagram, they all flow like that. They don't sound like you're interviewing somebody, which I think makes them a lot more interesting, in my opinion. But that's just me. That's coming from a guy that doesn't interview people.
I think you'd be good at it. I think could you have interviews on TikTok?
On my Bill Carruth account?
You should start one and watch that gets more popular than anything else. That's the way of the world.
You know, it would actually be funny, just thinking about it, if I did an alter ego called Bill Carruth and I just had a completely different persona for him, and all he does is interviews. Bill Carruth is my interview persona.
I would hype the heck out of that. I would offer you anything for that. I would put that on Kaplowitz Radio with me just introing it on top on Kaplowitz Radio. Let's discuss that further. Like I think we'll do it later in the show. I should. Speaking of later in the show, this is a show. I should probably. I look so tiny.
See, I think you look huge this time. I guess I don't look tiny. But
what, huge? Well, I had a cheat day yesterday.
Oh well. Is it bulk season?
I'm carbo loading marathons.
Okay, because I think it's bulk. I think it's bulk season maybe, or you're at the tail end of bulk season, or I don't know.
I have a strange build. Like when I get fat, I first look like I hit the gym, like I put on weight, like in the good places,
Yeah.
you know. And so that's a quick way to make it look like I actually do anything physical ever. But no, I just feel small. And I'm about to intro the show, but
Okay.
let me tell you about my cheat. I ate a pizza and a half. Yes.
What size of pizza?
The hot and ready at Little Caesars. My favorite shitty pizza. Little Sleezers, as we
Little
call it
Sleezers,
around here.
Yep.
And those are some good pizzas. But if I may pontificate for a moment, come to
Absolutely.
think of it, they were $5 forever, hot and ready. $5.
Yeah, that seems familiar.
They were hot, they were ready, they were $5. Grab and go. Then they started. They're not ready at my local pizza place, which is down there.
So they'd be if
They
they're not ready,
ready.
they're not. If they're not ready, they're not hot or ready.
They're not hot. They're definitely not ready, and they're hot, but it's like the uncomfortable hot because they're just pulling it out of the oven and you're burning your face off. It's not the resting heat. And then they raised the price to $6. So suddenly, like I went in there once. And I'm like, give me a hot and ready. And the guy's like, that'll be 15, maybe 20 minutes. And I'm like, you son of a bitch.
See, that's
smiling.
That's immediately when you say, well, that's now a hot and unready.
Right. So what do I call it, sir? I mean, I'll gladly wait in my truck for said 15 minutes, but this is by no means ready. Is there a manager I could speak to? You know, but I didn't.
You know what though? That could go against you because if you say this is a hot and unready or hot and not ready, then he's like, oh, you're right. We're just going to charge you for a standard pizza. That's going to be $12 a piece now.
Well, here it is. He's like, you could pay in advance, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I hand him a $5, and he takes the $5 and he goes, they're $6 now.
And does he pocket the $5? Does he pocket the $5 when he's telling you that?
I'm still smiling, but in my head I'm like, this is not ready. It's going to be uncomfortably burn my face off hot, and it's $6. And suddenly I'm not getting a deal. I'm not sensing that this is any kind of a good thing that I inadvertently, unbeknownst to me, walked into. Eyes wide open, I walked into a situation where I'm thinking I'm going to leave in 30 seconds with a pizza for $5.
Right.
Now the math is happening in my head, and I'm like, wait, 15 minutes in my truck, another $1, that's $6. It's not the best pizza in the world, no offense to Little Sleezers, but I feel it's less like a win, you know?
Yeah, I feel like the pizza with not being ready and $6 and you waiting, it has kind of become like a $15 pizza? If you factor in your time.
Can you bring it out to my car? How about that? How about bringing it out to my and anyway, let me introduce the show. I'm gonna pull up this, and I apologize for looking down, but you know, it bees that way sometimes. It is what it is. And welcome, gentle person and Ted, to First and 15th, an opinionated podcast series looking at the cigar industry and its news through the lens of online cigar media. That is the elevator pitch. First and 15th is brought to you by Kaplowitz Radio, kaplowitz.xyz, in collaboration with Comedy Cigars Music, comedycigarsmusic.com. I am Kaplowitz Media, and with me is Bill Caruth. No,
that's Maltrigo. Alter ego is Bill Caruth.
Right, and I'll be able to tell as soon as you're sitting. I think you should do like a Between the Ferns kind of setting. Are you familiar with that show, Between the Ferns?
Yeah, is that Galifianakis, right?
Yes. I don't find him funny.
I find some of his stuff funny. Some of his stuff. He's one of those guys when people show me 10 things and are laughing and crying, I'm laughing hard at 2.
Yeah, maybe I have a high bar for comedy, but he doesn't quite clear it. But I do appreciate his interviews, I guess. I've seen maybe 2. So, let you. You see, I'm busy. Like I don't have a lot.
That might be the worst sampling of something that somebody said they've enjoyed. Man, I really enjoy this drink. I've had 2 of them.
It's my fave. I highly recommend.
Out of all the work this company does, I enjoy these. I've tried 2.
Every time I sit down and need a drink, for the last 2 times, I have reached.
This has been my go-to twice.
Twice, and so far, fingers crossed, so good.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's get to the lead story. Let's get.
Okay.
We like to get. I'm on topics. I gotta crack the whip here. I can see you're you know what the problem is, Phil. You're a long form guy. I think at the end of the day, your videos, you keep them short and sweet. You edit them down compactly,
mm-hmm.
in and out, very nice. But I think deep in your soul, if you will, you're a long form guy. And I know I am. I just love the shaggy dog. I love the drawing it out. I love the stories within the stories, you know. So,
well, there is one place I wanted to go before you get to topics, and it has to do with you saying you're tiny.
You
yeah, see, because I thought of a story. And I think this is interesting, but it'll only really be interesting for the people that are watching the video. Check it out on YouTube.
Ted and the Gentle Person.
For the Teds out there.
Ted and the Gentle Person sounds like a band that could have played at the Great Smoke.
And had one hit.
One hit.
One local hit.
One regional hit. They were like number 174 on Billboard.
Why does when I said one local hit and you said one regional, which you would think would give them more credibility, but I think regional actually sounds worse.
It was meant to.
Because regional, you know the band would brag about a regional hit. They would brag about a regional hit.
Right, that's what they'd be saying. But regional sounds funny. Regional is funny because local, when you say local, it's like local to you, and you're positing it yourself. Like, this is my local, like the Cherry Poppin' Daddies are my local band. They live downtown, or one of the guys that lives downtown. But regional is like, I don't know, he had like he peaked at number 172 in Kansas.
In the tri-state area?
In the tri-state, metropolitan Topeka.
The tri-state area the tri-state area bands are the best. Oh, we're huge in the tri-state area. Sweet. So everybody out of this tri-state area has no idea who you are.
Exactly, but they're playing every fair, both of them, in that region.
Okay, my story. So you said you felt tiny. Okay, one time at my day job, we were talking to this guy, and we had to talk to him, like I said, for my day job. And he's one of the skinniest guys I've ever met. And I had to deal with the guy a number of times. But one time we went to deal with him at night, and the first thing he does as soon as he enters the door, so you can see this because for the video, first thing he does is, "Hey guys, what's up?" He stayed like this the whole time he's talking to us. And like if he would turn around, he like flexes back. He's like, "Yeah, can you get that over there?" This guy was seriously 100 pounds, soaking wet with sweatpants and a sweatshirt on.
What is that illness? I painted myself into a corner immediately because I can't think of it. But like the imaginary, what are those muscles over here? Like the little guys walking around like this, like they have.
Oh yeah, these are the lats. And then the traps up here. He was flexing the traps like a cobra, like he was trying to like cobra us.
He was ready to strike.
Yeah. So
were you like, hey, calm down? You're scaring us, sir.
Yeah. So if you feel tiny, try that.
Sure.
Yeah, you got to really hike them up there.
Well, I also want to get your.
Well, yeah.
This is going to play really well on the podcast version. Tune in over at Kaplowitz Radio. Lead story.
Mm-hmm.
Lead story. And what is admittedly a somewhat of a slow news cycle, the Gentle Persons and Ted are going to shortly realize that we're opinion as well as news. We're offering our opinings as to the news. So the lead story here, with all that being said, Drew Estate has pulled out of TPE 2021, and they have cited, of course, the COVID issue, health reasons, and all that. And I mean, you have to take that at least somewhat on face value, because that is a concern.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm also wondering, and I don't know if you want to follow me down this rabbit hole, Phil, or maybe you could slide into Bill Carruth. You know what? When things get a little testy, when you don't want to upset anybody, you slide into Bill Carruth. And
yeah, then nobody can blame Phil Carruth for anything.
You get hate mail from people saying, "Why'd you say that?" And you're like, "That's Bill. That guy's a wild card."
I've talked to him how many times? He doesn't listen.
He doesn't listen. He's entertaining as heck, but I can't censor that fella.
Yeah.
He's a madman. You know Bill. You remember that one time?
Oh,
at that party?
Bill's so crazy.
He's insane. He's a nut. Everybody who knows Bill knows he's just nuts. It's like that one time. But so my immediate thought, other than, well, yeah, with the Drew Estate thing, is how important are those events, the IPCPR, well, now it's PCA, they somewhat, and I've said this elsewhere, and I'm about to say it here too, so sorry if you've heard it already, but they seem a little bit antiquated, the whole idea of trade shows, because it started out, the big deal with the trade shows was it was the one time of the year you put out new stuff, you announce new stuff, you offer new stuff, you put sales out, you get people in, and because of social media, which is going to play a large part of this particular program and probably just about every other here on First and 15th, because everybody has social media, they could disseminate this stuff by themselves directly to their fan base, directly to the smokers, directly to the retailers, whoever follows them on social media. So I think if this was back in 1981, they would be a little less prone to pull out of the show. And I think that's kind of, I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I think it's kind of obvious. And that's kind of the way we're going. I think that's like the new era that's looming. I mean, it's not even looming. We're in it now. The new era of everybody having a voice. They don't have to wait till one time in Vegas to let loose their Corona Vitola of their popular blend that was only available in Robusto and Toro prior to that. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that or not, but also before I throw it over to you for your thoughts, this is big because they are like one of, if not the largest presenter at that TPE show. And that's a newer show. That's a new kid on the block as far as trade shows for the cigar industry. So they're probably not happy with that. I mean, TPA went out of their way to say that, hey, we're here. We're going to be doing it. And then not very long after, Drew Estate is like, well, that's cool, but we're not. So how do you see that whole thing?
So I mean, I think, you know, like you said, and like they said, it's citing the COVID issues. But yeah, I don't know, because I look at social media and I see more cigar advertisement on social media than I see anywhere else, and most of that doesn't even come from the manufacturers themselves. I mean, people are proud to smoke this brand or that brand, so they just basically freely advertise and market the heck out of that brand. Now, that being said, I have heard other cigar manufacturers and other people voice their opinion that they think people still want that handshake. People still want the personal experience, which I would tend to agree with. But I think at the end of the day, social media is what's selling everything at this point in and out of the cigar industry, but especially the cigar industry. I mean, if a cigar manufacturer throws a couple hats at somebody and a few cigars, they know that person is going to post it on Instagram. And not only are they going to post it on Instagram, they're going to put it on their story on Instagram. They're probably going to post it on Twitter if they have a Twitter account. They're going to post it to everybody that'll see them. So that brand has reached how many eyes through one person's account?
Right, and there's another aspect of it too. Social media is free. You don't have to pay tens and thousands of dollars.
Yep.
To give a social media blast, to shoot out an email, even.
Yep.
It's free. So if you could accomplish even a part on social media, even a part of what you would be able to accomplish in person at one of those trade shows that costs tens of thousands of dollars to just be in, that's a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. I'll take a little less money for a lot less expenditure.
Absolutely.
So I think that has something to do, and I think if you look at it in that light, all of these trade shows are in a little bit of trouble. I mean, we know PCA's trade show, that's in a good deal of trouble. And that organization, unfortunately, saying nothing bad about them, but they've seen better days. Mm-hmm. And they get like all of their money for the year from that show, and they're out that. But TPE, that's, like I said, it's the hot show, and they are down maybe their biggest player at that show. They can't be happy.
Right. Well, I mean, that's why it's news, obviously, you know. I mean, everybody's aware of that, but it's because it's a huge player. I've not to delve in this too much, but it's always hard for me not to think about the music side of it, which I don't know if we've talked about this before with this particular topic, but it's like at the NAMM show, and just on the side of it, and I've never been to the NAMM show, but I read about it and stuff, especially for the drumming stuff. Even if a big manufacturer has less of a display than they had the year before, that's a big deal. It's a huge deal. You know, if they only bring X amount of pieces of gear instead of what they usually bring, it's a huge deal, just the fact they didn't have as big of a stand. So I can't imagine one of the huge drum manufacturers just saying, yeah, we're not going to be at NAMM this year. That would be gigantic.
And it is. It's just gigantic on a smaller scale.
Mm-hmm.
This is big, and I don't see a lot of people discussing it. And I guess that's really chalked up to, again, I don't like dwelling on it, but the COVID-19 situation.
Right.
People are taking for granted stuff is going to be canceled. People are going to pull out shows that even if they aren't canceled, they might not be there. But the other thing, and TPE doesn't have this power yet, I don't think, but something that PCA has going for it is that there's a certain amount of, if you want to be taken legitimately, you have to have a presence at that show. There's a lot of people who feel that way. I can't say that's wrong, but this kind of shows maybe that TPE doesn't have that yet, where a brand could just decide not to go. No
right.
hard feelings, not like when Drew Estate pulled out of IPCPR, PCA, whatever it was then. That was hard feelings. This is no hard feelings. I don't know what the finances are behind it, if they paid and if they're forfeiting that down payment for whatever. I don't know the nuts and bolts of it. But it just seems like an excellent way to springboard into what we're going to be talking about for a good part of the rest of the show, which is, again, that new age of how brands get awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And social media is it. And you talk about Drew Estate, you talk about social media. They got theirs, as the kids say, on lock.
Right.
Drew Estate.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't imagine it's going to hurt them financially. I don't think they're gonna feel it, Drew Estate.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think, and it's not to say they're not. It's not to say there's anything, disingenuous about what they said as far as regarding their workers and people that might come to their booth trying to keep them safe. But obviously, as a business, I would think you're running the numbers, and it has to make sense for you to skip that too. And if you can say, yeah, it makes sense, then
right.
You're probably not really worried about getting dinged on it.
What is it? Rahm Emanuel. What did he say? Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Mm-hmm.
It's an excellent cover for, and I know he said it. I don't know if that was his to coin, but he's one I recall saying it. Of course, the politician from around your neck of the woods, but Chicago. But it speaks volumes. And I don't know if we want to go much further into it, but I would if I were keeping track of this sort of thing, see how well that TPE show goes off right now.
Yep.
And time will tell, of course, because it hasn't gone off yet. Something moving on that has gone off, and I don't know if we felt all the ramifications of it yet, or if there will be really. I mean, other than what's obvious, McAuliffe Cigars made the news.
Yep.
And they made the news by press release that Cigar Coop picked up. And again, everybody picks up these press releases, but I saw it at Cigar Coop, so I figured I'd give them a shout out. And by the way, I saw the Drew Estate story on Half Wheel, so there you go. But they issued a cease and desist letter to Privada Cigar Club.
Yeah.
Did McAuliffe Cigars. And they are buckling down heavy on brick and mortar, on their brick and mortar relationships.
Right.
Commendable, a way that business can be done, but very much in juxtaposition to what we're going to be probably, again, talking about more with the new wave coming in of social media, of online sales, of the two different ways to go about business. So is that really, like, in the context of all that, it's a story, but in and of itself, Phil, what do you think? Just with McAuliffe, with Privada, what's going to happen there?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's one of those things too, where the Cigar of the Month clubs and things like that, and I know the Cigar of the Month clubs also offer other services. I mean, they're an online retailer as well. It's just not their Cigar of the Month club they're living off of.
Right.
But I can't imagine, just knowing how popular Privada Cigar Club is, I can't imagine it's going to hurt them a whole lot. Obviously, they don't have a brand that they're distributing anymore, depending on how all that goes. And I would tend to think that possibly, even though that looks good to the brick and mortar community, I guess my thought is that might end up hurting McAuliffe more than Privada Cigar Club.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll work for them. I wonder if this will make them pick up more brick and mortar accounts, because I got to think that's what their eyes are on, of course. Right. But I don't know if you're a buyer at a brick and mortar, I don't know that this pushes you over in some weird form, not weird, in some form of loyalty. Do you reciprocate? Did you never go in on McAuliffe before, and now all of a sudden with this gambit that they put out there, does that make you pop on them and call them up and say, yeah, we'll take every facing you got, line our shelves, we appreciate you standing up for us? You know, I honestly don't see enough of that. I see a lot of these smaller brands, and McAuliffe isn't a smaller brand, but what I see from brick and mortars with smaller brands is they don't want to take in a smaller brand. And it's perfectly reasonable. They don't know if it's going to sell. They're in the business to buy, but mostly sell.
Sure.
They just need their products. But a lot of these smaller boutique brands have a lot of trouble getting shelf space in brick and mortars. Right. And they're kind of in this catch-22 where if they go to online sales, it's a blemish on their record. They're seen as, you know, saying, F you, man, to the brick and mortars, and the brick and mortars then hold it over their head that they're available online for sale, but they've got to sell their stuff too. They're also in the business of selling their stuff. Right. And so in a perfect world, I would like to see a tighter relationship there. There's also issues where brand XYZ that nobody heard of gets into a brick and mortar, and then the local guys come in to purchase stuff, and they say to the person at the counter, hey, what's new? And that person often doesn't say brand XYZ. You've never heard of this, but you should try it. So I would like to see more go-between, more symbiotic type stuff happening between all those players.
And it comes down to relationships. You know, that's what it really comes down to. And I'm not a sales guy, but you'll hear sales guys say that all the time. It comes down to relationships. And I don't know. Maybe McAuliffe and Pravada didn't have as good of a relationship as one of them thought too. Because I would think if you had a good relationship, I would think if you have a good relationship and Pravada's pushing you or McAuliffe's pushing Pravada, however that whole thing works, that would be the last thing you want to do is tell somebody to stop selling your cigars.
Right. Hey, let's leave all that money on the table and make a big fuss about it on top of it that neither one of us looks great across the board coming out of. The other thing I thought with that was, why couldn't it be handled outside of the public eye? It's almost,
I had the same question. About that.
It's almost as if, and I'm not saying this, I don't know anyone over at McAuliffe to any extent, but it's almost as if they're really using this, that they're pandering to an audience through this action. Like, look how serious I am about this. Now, hey, I wonder if there's somebody over at McAuliffe HQ following this up with like phone calls across the nation going, hey, did you see that we had that cease and desist against that shitty freaking online entity? And I see you're not carrying us now, but would you like to carry us now, later? Could we throw an order your way? I see it as a slight pandering from McAuliffe. I see it as maybe, but you don't know what happened. Maybe they did try to handle it behind the scenes and there was some issue. But just from what I know from the outside looking in, it seems slightly unnecessary and a lot like they're pandering to an audience.
Well, and it comes back to the question of who's it going to end up benefiting. Because, obviously I haven't looked at every single post about this, but the post I did see, a lot of people supporting Pravada on it. And
really?
Pravada has a huge following on social media. They have a very substantial following, and even the owner of Pravada does stuff on YouTube that does very well. I just can't imagine Pravada is going to see a big hit from this. I would be very surprised if Pravada ends up seeing a big hit from it.
One thing to keep in focus is at the end of the day, the consumer often doesn't have unlimited financial resources.
Right.
So they are going to be a smart shopper. And inevitably, they're going to pay, for right or for wrong, for the good of the industry or not, there's better deals to be had online with these subscription services,
right,
with shopping online. So that's a bugaboo right there. And that breeds loyalty. Like when you're dealing with, say, Pravada again, and you're getting good smokes for cheap, and maybe you wouldn't be able to afford them going to your brick and mortar, that builds loyalty. And
yep.
I could see where that loyalty is coming in. Hey, this is my guy. This is my hookup. This is, yep. He's sending me good cigars every month that I would have to pay a lot more for by other means. And really, how often could one of those be a McAuliffe?
Well, yeah, that's exactly the thing. How many cigar smokers out there, maybe, and it's not just specific to McAuliffe, but I'm just using them since we're talking about them. How many cigar smokers out there are part of Pravada Cigar Club that had never heard of McAuliffe or never had one until it came in their monthly subscription? They really liked it, and now they're not going to drive 100 miles to go pick one up.
Right, because they never smoked it before. Putting yourself in a consumer's place, they've never smoked it before. They don't know if they want to go to their brick and mortar and pop on figure a $10, $15 cigar that they never smoked before. But they just happen to get this as a sample, essentially.
Right.
Like they wouldn't have purchased out of pocket at full MSRP. And maybe that becomes a McAuliffe fan. So I would have thought really long and hard about if I was McAuliffe, about doing what they did. So I guess it's a ballsy move.
Yeah.
If nothing else, and you got to appreciate that. And we'll see if it pays dividends for them in a literal sense.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm not knocking them for making that decision. I don't really know how I feel about it. I'm just I just have those questions. If I was a guy that hadn't smoked a McAuliffe before, and the only way I had access to it initially or right now was through a cigar club membership, and now they just said, well, we're not going to let your cigar club carry that anymore, I guess I'm not smoking McAuliffe anymore then.
I guess I'll never have a chance to.
Right.
I guess that's plumb off the table. That's clear off the table. But Like I said, we'll see how it pans out. And here's something else, Phil, that we're going to have to see how it pans out. And I'm keenly interested in this, and we'll get to it, of course. And that is the back to Half Wheel. I don't know if it was Charlie or one of the other guys that did this review of the El Wawense recently, just a few days ago. But it's the 5th anniversary, and they rated it a 71. That is a 7-1.
Yeah, that's a big ouch.
To put it in terms of Kaplowitz media, that would be like a C minus. Like, yeah. That would be almost off. Like, that would be okay. So from a personal perspective, that might be a review that I wouldn't even publish.
Right.
That would require a phone call. How I do business, and I'm not telling Half Wheel how to do it, or I'm not judging them in any way, shape, or form. And I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but if somebody sent me a cigar, like this cigar, for instance, this nameless cigar, it won't stay lit. If this was, and the cap is falling apart, if it was sent to me for purposes of review, before I published a 71 or a C minus, I would call the guy and say, hey, there were some issues. I don't know if you want to send me another one. I don't know how you want to handle this. Here's what happened. I've done that before. But Half Wheel, whatever happened behind the scenes, they posted it. They published it. It's at halfwheel.com. I've said Half Wheel enough now. But but a 71.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. And what does that do? What does that do for that brand, for El Wawense? Not that they're the brand, but like, what does that do? Like, do you have to spin that? Do you have to like take to social media and go, well, screw these guys, they don't know what they're talking about, and then hope your fans pile in and say, yeah, I smoked one yesterday and it was fantastic, best cigar ever. This is me typing.
Right, yeah. I got that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought maybe Frankenstein at first, but then I was like, okay, he's typing. That makes sense. Did
you think Ricky Bobby?
I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with my hands when I'm talking about cigar reviews.
And I asked you the question, but let me add something before I forget. Does that work in a backdoor way where people are going to be like, it's like P.T. Barnum, there's no such a thing as bad publicity. People are going to be like, holy crap, that can't be that bad. I'm going to have to get that and smoke it. Like, is any of that going to happen, or what do you think happens with a 71? You review cigars, you don't rate them, but you
not
review
anymore.
them.
Yeah, not anymore.
Right.
No, I think if you're a Half Wheel fan and you base a lot of what you try on the cigars, and I'm not knocking Foundation, I'm just saying in general, if you base what you try or smoke on Half Wheel, that's not even a cigar worth trying then.
No. It's yes, but more. It's like it's trash. Like I can't figure out what, like, and I read the review and I know what happened and people can read it there, but that's a cigar with zero redeeming characteristics. Like, to go as low, and I know in rating nothing is perfect. And I review cigars, and when it comes time for me to wrap it up with a rating, it's often not completely indicative of the experience. Like, a cigar could be perfectly fine and not do anything wrong. Yep. So it grades higher than it smokes, because while it didn't do anything wrong, it did fail at doing anything spectacular.
Right.
So it would be a B+, which is like an 85, but it's kind of like a light 85. See, there's no, you know.
So my thought on the ratings, and I could be totally off, because I just kind of try to smoke stuff because I want to try it. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to ratings, but to me, like an 85, I think if I were to look at that, I'd be like, maybe I'll still give that a shot. If it's for me personally, if it's a low 80 or anywhere under a low 80, I don't even know that I want to spend money trying it because there has to be better cigars out there.
Again, with your perhaps limited resources, and really everybody has limited resources. It's just some have a higher amount and some have a lower amount of limited resources, but you're still voting with your wallet. You're still making it rain on the cashier. And am I the only one that does that? Like I paid for the pizza like this. Was that wrong?
You and maybe 2 other guys probably do that.
And we all hang out, you know? But so it puts me in mind of Tom Meadowcroft. Shout out to Tom Meadowcroft, Meadowcroft Wines, sponsor, advertiser over at Capitalist Media Wine. He had a wine of his reviewed, and the reviewer said it was undrinkable. And Tom, being Tom, runs with this and has stuff printed up that says, drink the undrinkable behind this offering, and he sold the crap out of it.
Yeah, which is kind of hilarious and part genius.
It's fantastic. It's everything that tickles my funny bone and shivers me timbers, all wrapped into one thing. So all I'm saying is
you didn't say shiver me timbers at Little Skeezers, did you?
$6 shiver me timbers are fine. It was awkward too because I had a 5 and a single, so I had to give them the 5 for ones. I was like, could you break this into ones? And then they handed me back the 5 singles, and I added my other single to it, and I did the whole making it rain thing 6 times.
Well, yeah, you can't make it rain with 2 bills.
No, it's shallow. You know, it's kind of looks like maybe I just like had a palsy moment or something.
Yeah, and then tell them to keep the change or something like that, and really stick it to them.
Really stick it. Keep the change, sir. There's no change. Good day.
Keep it anyway.
So I would never want anything that I did to be graded a 71 on a scale of 100.
Yeah, no.
I can't say I would ever want that. But I could try to bullshit console myself into something like that P.T. Barnum, there's no such a thing as bad press. But it really, in reality, it could damage beyond that offering within the foundation line is what my concern would be. I mean, that calls, like that low of a review of a rating, that could damage outside of that one offering. That could be really bad. And I hope it's not the case. Yeah,
it could be. I just wonder, too, on that side, you know, from the other side of it, with foundation, they're so established that you've already got
it's in the name.
Yeah, a foundation. Yeah. How do you beat that? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. A rating like that doesn't look good, but at the same time, I don't know that it would hurt the rest of their stuff because they're so ingrained in everything, and they're one of the companies that on social media I see all the time, and even if it's not from them, even just people that love their stuff. My guess is that it's going to be more people piling on Half Wheel for saying that was crap or whatever, which I don't know. He rated it, and it's rated how it's rated. That's just how it is. But I don't know. I don't know that would hurt foundation. It might kind of hurt that cigar with people that are really basing everything on Half Wheel. But I don't know that it's going to hurt the brand because they're so established otherwise.
Now let's spin this one other way real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here and move on because we've got plenty of other stuff to chat about here. But Nick Melillo Foundation, very much known for his dark tobaccos, black backy, the broadleaf, the heavy stuff, the dark stuff, the scary stuff, you know. And this was, and again, this was a Perfecto. You know, that was cited in the review that it was some of the issue there. But it's a harder thing to roll. It's a harder thing to produce. But so let's kind of keep a base with Melillo, but then let me go beyond that and not necessarily throw him into the mix. Blend-wise, this was different. This was a lighter wrapper. So what does it do with all that in mind? Again, removing foundation, removing nick. If a brand is known for something that a blender is known for something that they blend very well with, say it's a broadleaf, and then they try to step outside of their comfort zone and it's a failure.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
They have potentially proved to everybody in real time that they are not good at everything, that they have a limited array of skills,
right.
perhaps. Do you sense any of that being an issue with that company, with Foundation, or with any other hypothetical company, like stepping out of your comfort zone, trying to stretch yourself and kind of falling flat?
Yeah, I think that can hurt, and I think to some degree, not all cigar manufacturers, but I think some cigar manufacturers might run the risk of getting themselves caught in that because they've got such a reputation for themselves that they want to show they can do everything. And I don't know, and it's just my own personality too, that I kind of tend to say, stick to what you're really good at. Stick to what you know. I mean, it's great if you want to venture out and try this thing to show that you can do that too. But the only catch with doing that is if you're going to do that, you can't just produce something good. It's going to have to be excellent then.
Right.
Because when
it's going to have to be eye-opening. It's going to be like, holy crap, he could do that too.
Yeah.
You know, like,
exactly.
Wow, this guy or gal is the bee's knees. But I coming from a culinary background somewhat myself, there's always specialties. There's always like guys that prefer to work within their particular comfort zone. And you do have to step out on occasion, but you're always this chef doing that thing. You're
right.
always outside of the box. You're always pulling your brand over to here. And it doesn't always go great, but it doesn't always go 71.
Right.
Because at that point, with that chef, if he is chefing over here in Italian cuisine, making it very simple, if he's chefing over here in the world of Italian cuisine, and then he wants to go into Asian cuisine, it's going to be known that he's stretching himself, but it also is not going to be, again, a catastrophe. It might not be great. Guys that really do Asian cooking might be like, what the hell is this guy doing? He's doing this all wrong, but it's not going to be unedible. It's not going to be terrible. In other words, his training, his culinary experience translates at least enough to let whoever's eating it know that this was done by a pro.
Right, right.
And a 71 doesn't quite say that.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. The 71, I think, kind of says, whether it was accurate to X amount of people or not, a 71 kind of says, you shouldn't have tried that.
This was regrettable.
Yeah.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Sometimes, but maybe sometimes.
Maybe just one regret.
Maybe you could cover up that no regrets tattoo with like a bird. Yeah.
Yeah, or just change it to very little regrets.
Very little regrets. Just almost no regrets.
Minimal regrets.
Just that one time. I don't know tattoos, but it seems like a lot to.
Well, you could get no regrets on one shoulder, and then just that one time on the other shoulder. One
regret.
Mm-hmm.
You could. It seems like you could somehow change no into one. But anyway.
No. The thing that would really fix that is if you did the, you had no regrets, but then on the other shoulder you had maybe just that one, but in a Japanese symbol.
So a little bit of kanji.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I have a kanji tattoo.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you believe it says what the person told you it says?
I had okay. So we're going to get into that. No, is the short answer. But I like the shape. I'm a font freak, among other things. I love different fonts, and I've done a little calligraphy in the past, and I just like the looks of things.
Okay.
And I like there's a whole thing I could get into that's called English, and it's Japanese speaking people over in Japan wearing American shirts that say like one duck. But they just like the looks. They like the form. They like, it's an art. It doesn't really matter what it says. So that's what I kind of remember what I was told it meant. Yeah. And I have a good deal of tattoos, actually. I, for some reason, surprise people with them. But all of them, out of all my tattoos, none of them have been done professionally. They all involve a friend of mine that was excellent at airbrushing that was trying tattooing. And you know, so he was good at broadleaf, but then he tried something else. Yeah. You know, and I got to say, a lot of my tattoos are 71s. You know.
But you wear them proudly, by God.
But I wear them proudly, although most people don't know that I have them. But
see, I just tried to throw that thing off. I knew a guy in college, and he got these two symbols on his back, and I asked him, I said, so what do those mean? And if memory serves me correctly, he said that the top one meant warrior, and the bottom one meant strong. And as I'm leaving, I just say, that's not what they mean. And I remember him. I remember him saying what, and I just kept walking.
Nothing.
Nothing. It's fine. You're a strong warrior, I'm sure.
It probably says one duck, but it looks nice.
It looks like strong warrior. It does look like it.
Right. If I had to guess. So, trying to light this one more time. And again, like, I just don't know. I don't know about my own ratings with 71s and all that. But anyway, let's forge bravely ahead here. I'm the topic guy. You're the time guy. Yeah. Speaking of time, I'm going to be dabbling over into time here with this next topic because Cigar Snob podcast, they released a podcast episode at around Thanksgiving. And then, without saying anything that I saw, they evaporated. They went away. They stopped the podcast. And I mean, of course, Cigar Snob does other things, but they stopped the podcast Thanksgiving-ish. And popped up again a good time later at around Valentine's Day. So that's November, December, January. That's like it's a solid couple of months of nothing entering their RSS feed, and then they pop up, like I say, with their. It doesn't matter what they pop up with. I'll say they popped up with their top 25 list, perhaps the latest top 25 list in mid-February.
Hey, but just as a question that you mentioned that in Valentine's Day being a juggernaut in the cigar community like I am, do you think they were trying to compete with my Valentine's Day tips 2021?
I hope not, because there are some things you try to take on and there are some things that you do not try to take on.
Yeah. I'm kind of wondering now if maybe they were intimidated knowing my or Valentine's Day tips 2021 was coming out.
I don't know. And if people haven't seen that, please go see it. If I can hype you, please go check that out. But anyway, so like, you create content, I create content. I take a hiatus. I take a 2-week hiatus every year, but I would never dare to go quiet on any platform for that long and expect my audience not to have kind of given up on me, maybe even stopped subscribing, unsubscribed. It's
possible. It's very possible.
That's dead. In the world of the internet, that's forever.
Yeah.
Like, I have trouble wrapping my mind around it. And again, they do other things. They have a print publication. They're big time, Cigar Snob. But to go away for that long without saying anything, again, I didn't see anything. Without saying anything, it just seems like you're tempting fate. It's like it could very well be the kiss of death for whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Without seeing their numbers, I don't know how it affected them, but I know for yeah. I mean, I would say for YouTube and stuff, depending on what your subscriber base is and stuff like that. Yeah, that taking 2.5 months off could be. I mean, it could be really good luck coming back.
It could. You're coming back, but you're like it's like people forget. Like I hype stuff occasionally ahead of time, and I don't start hyping until like days before, because if I started hyping a week or two before, people would forget that I was hyping anything by the time it actually happened. The internet has no memory.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to me and to most bloggers outside of the cigar world and the wine world or whatever, it's important to have a set schedule. It's important, it's like content creation on the internet 101. Have a set schedule, whether it's daily, whether it's a couple of times a week. Let people have some kind of at least a ballpark understanding of when the next thing is coming, and stick to it. And it just seems kind of, alongside that thought, it seems kind of unprofessional.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say about that for sure is there is an issue. Like, you take your hiatus for 2 weeks, people know it's coming, you announce it, you tell people to stay posted, catch up with Kaplowitz Media. There is some extent too where, and maybe this comes from some of the other stuff I've done in the past, that there is, I think you have to have a sense of the people that I hesitate to call people fans, but I think you do have to have some sense of your commitment to the people that are supporting you. And if you just take off, all those people that have been supporting you are just kind of left like, okay, I guess the content's not worth making for us.
Or I guess they stopped. There doesn't have to be any hard feelings. I guess this was a thing I enjoyed that's not there anymore. A month goes by, it's not there, and maybe you unsubscribe, and then you might never know when they come back.
Right. Right.
You could really just yank the carpet out from under your feet. And I wonder if Cigar Snob thought they were too big for that to be a problem, and if they thought that, I think they were wrong. I don't think anybody is that big. If HuffPost, and I just use them as a for instance, if they stopped posting, I'd be happy. But the people,
one of the better known cigar media people, HuffPost.
Well, I'm sure they're strongly pro tobacco over there, but it just seems like they're kind of snubbing their listenership by doing that. And again, I don't know everything. Maybe I missed them making making it known that they were going to take some time off. But it just seems like a weird way to do business. And this is business. What we're doing is business. Whether we're making what Cigar Snob makes, or what we're making what Kaplowitz Media makes, which, speaking of what Kaplowitz Media makes, speaking of what you make, Comedy Cigars Music, speaking about, if I may be so bold, 1st and 15th, Phil, we almost forgot, I think. We wanted to touch on this. We're looking always for advertisers over here.
Yep.
Was that a smooth segue? Was that?
I think so. Yeah, it came off really smooth. Nice tie-in. Yeah.
Okay. And especially as part of the smoothness of it all, me asking if it came off okay. Probably really.
Yeah, that adds genuineness to it. Just checking yourself before you wreck yourself. The kids are still saying that every day, I think.
I believe so. Yeah. I believe so. So yeah, we are 1st and 15th, to be exact, is looking for sponsorship for advertisers. So hit up, I guess me. Are we still putting me out there on that limb?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, I'm sure you do. That's Kaplowitz Media at mail.com. We're affordable. Dare I say we come cheap. And it'll be nice to have some sponsorship, some advertising here. And I wouldn't be offering it if I didn't think, again, harkening back to what we spoke about, if we couldn't bring a little something to the table for whoever would be interested in that too, in some form of relationship that is hopefully symbiotic.
Yes.
So I'm very uncomfortable talking about this. I don't want to do that. So
I'm terrible at it.
So that being said, if you wanted to put this ugliness behind us, Phil, by just pitching again for advertisers and sponsors out there, go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. If you dig what we're doing here at 1st and 15th, get a hold of Cap.
Excellent. Excellent. I expect many an email in a couple of days when this posts. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And
well, speaking about relationships, that's one thing we were going to talk about.
Exactly.
So relationships. So one thing I'll say with, and this will kind of take us into the next thing we want to talk about with some of the YouTube stuff. One thing I'll say about relationships is when it comes to promoting yourself or promoting something you're doing like 1st and 15th or Capowitz Media or Comedy Cigars Music, I have found in the few sponsors I have that the relationships have become more important to me than all the other stuff that comes with it. I see guys that'll post stuff or put it out there that, hey, so-and-so sent me cigars to review, which I don't do. I make it a point, if somebody sends me a cigar to review, I don't publicize that because that wasn't their intention of sending me the cigars. Their intention of sending me the cigars was to review them, not to brag that I got all these cigars.
It seems tacky. It seems tacky.
Yeah, and I think to me, and I could be totally wrong, and maybe people disagree with me 100% on this, but to me that almost completely extinguishes any type of relationship, because then it is pure business and bragging rights. And I would honestly rather have, and I'm thankful for the ones I do have. I'd rather have two sponsors that have a good relationship with me and they enjoy what I do over people that are looking at, and I'm not saying this because I know what my numbers are and everybody can see them with me being on YouTube, but I'd rather have people say that, hey, we dig exactly what you do.
Right.
Couldn't care less about the numbers. We want to support what you do because we think what you're doing is different or unique or has value. So I don't run that stuff through the brag mill, is what I sometimes like to call it.
They might be thinking to themselves, you know what, Phil, if you could tell Ted about us.
Yeah, the comedy Cigars and Music's fan base Teds.
So, yeah, it's all from my perspective, and this isn't hyping, looking for sponsors or advertisers. It's just the next topic at hand, and it's a little awkward at this point, but I'm going to go through it. I consider these to be relationships. I talk to these people, like I said before, all this ugliness, when they patch through and I get to see their face and they see my face. We've talked before often, a lot, and we're happy to see each other. We're friends. We're doing stuff for each other. It's symbiotic. They're allowing me to do what I do. I'm getting their name out there to the gentle persons, and now even maybe to Ted. And it's meaningful and it's good, and I appreciate them. So, but you touch on something, bragging, and there's such a not self-aware, bragiose thing going on with a lot of cigar media, and I'm going to air quote cigar media, and I did it for the YouTubers, and I also verbally said that I'm doing that for the Capowitz Radio podcast listeners, cigar media. And I've been much more active on Instagram as of late, not just with those reviews. And I'm seeing something time and time again, and we've talked about it, Phil, and it's pure comedy. It's a cigar media guy saying, hey, coming up on 1,000 followers, I'm going to do a huge giveaway at 1,000 followers. And I go to his profile, and he has like 987 followers, but he's following like 4,000 plus people.
Sure. Sure.
It's cringy, isn't it? It's like,
Well,
your
because
ratio, man. You
because
know?
so much social media is based on milestones. I mean, it really is, like on on any platform, whether it be YouTube or Instagram. Which, real quick, obviously not a sponsor, but Instagram. Shout out to the Instagram cigar community, because you and I have talked about it. Probably the best cigar community out there is Instagram.
Yeah.
They're the most supportive. I don't see the cattiness. I don't see the drama, and I don't want to hang anybody out to dry, but YouTube is chock full of it. YouTube is chock full of everybody trying to one-up somebody, or if they're not one-upping somebody, trying to knock somebody down. I had a conversation with a guy that I'm friendly with on YouTube that, was saying how he was getting trashed. And to me, to me, it's just hilarious, because some of the stuff this guy said he was getting trashed for, I see the bigger guys do. I see the bigger guys do the exact same thing. And it comes to a thing where I start asking myself the question, and again, I don't mean this as a knock to anybody, but especially on YouTube, everybody that's on YouTube wants to be a content creator. And the more I do this, the more I start asking myself, is there a difference between a content creator and a person making a video? I think there's content creators, and I think there's video makers. And I think if you're a video maker, that's fine. But I struggle when they say they're content creators. Just because you're making a video, if in my opinion, just because you're making a video doesn't mean you're creating something. You turned a camera on. To me, that's not creation. I'm not trying to knock those guys, because I think making a video is fine. I don't have any issue with that. But if somebody else is making videos too, and you start knocking them, you're knocking them for doing the exact same thing you're doing, first of all. And second of all, the guys that are making videos or creating content in the cigar community on YouTube, we're all adults. Like, this is like high school stuff that they're doing.
It really is over at YouTube, high school stuff. Facebook is old people stuff. And I don't dabble in YouTube, and that's only one of the reasons. I don't consider myself, that's not my medium. I don't have the ability to do what you do. I don't have the time to learn how to edit. I don't know how to do it. I just can't see myself doing it. You do it well. I would have to be one of those guys that just turns the camera at myself. And at that point, I would go to Instagram Live for that kind of action. I wouldn't be on YouTube with that, because that seems to be, whatever you do, you have to know what you're doing it for as far as a platform. When I tweet, it's a different thing. I'm not one of those people that posts on Instagram and then has it directly going over to Twitter with a link to my Instagram. I don't do that, because I think each platform plays a little differently. You have to create content in keeping with the platform you're posting it to. And I understand, I think, and what you've told me is that these people see YouTube as where they get cigar celebrity status, potentially.
Right.
I don't buy that, because I think if that's what you're looking for, two things. You still have to put it on the right platform if you're going to get popular from it.
Sure.
Secondly, if you're really just looking to be a celebrity, cigar celebrity, nothing. If you're looking to be a celebrity, if you're looking to have any kind of name, you're in the wrong business being a cigar reviewer. Because my 10-year-old, and I don't know if we talked about this on air, my 10-year-old watches YouTubers that have millions of views.
Right.
You're not going to get that with cigars. You're not going to even get that with wine. You're going to get that with playing video games. So maybe go play a video game if that's what you want to do. But you have to know what platform you're catering to. Right. And I know the guy you're talking about. I'm not going to put him out there. I'd say he should be on Instagram Live. Because there's also a thing that I'm noticing, looking at YouTube more than I ever thought I would because of you, and fuck you. But
YouTube, not a sponsor.
Just but there seems to be, you say a video guy and a content provider or content creator. How I process it is you're either a presenter or you're not. If you're turning on a camera to talk to your friends, to talk to your insulated crowd, the circle jerk, whatever it is, you're not presenting. You're not putting yourself out there in a way that's going to draw other people in. You're talking to guys that you know are watching. To me, that's not a presenter, not in the context of what we're talking about. They're not ready for prime time, in other words, whether they want to be or not. And YouTube, to me, you got to be ready for prime time. You got to be ready to catch people outside of your super niche genre.
Right.
And pull them in. You do it with your characters, with your comedy, with your humor. And these guys aren't doing it. They're lighting up a cigar and they're talking about the cigar. I wouldn't even say what they're doing is reviewing proper. I definitely wouldn't say that they're rating. And let me get back on my soapbox real quick to say this. There is a difference that doesn't exist necessarily enough in the cigar world. The difference is the understanding that a review and a rating are two distinctly different things.
Right.
A rating and a review could each happen independently of one another. I just so happen to review and rate. But you could do one without the other. And I think that needs to be learned within the cigar community just a little better, what the difference is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll say a few things about all of that, kind of backtracking about the comment you made with posting, you know, an Instagram link on Twitter. I've been doing it long enough with Twitter and Instagram and YouTube that, you know, you have to do a service to the people that are watching your stuff. And I can tell you right now that the cigar community on Twitter doesn't like links. And they'll even talk amongst each other like, we don't support that guy because he puts a link on wanting us to go to all of his links and he doesn't interact with any of us. So to me, posting an Instagram link on Twitter is almost a waste of time. And it tells that community that I don't really care about the Twitter community. I just want you guys, I'm just hoping you guys click the link, which I can tell you right now from talking to the guys on Twitter, very few of them do because they just don't buy into that. If I'm going to post something like how and I'm not saying how I do it's right. I'm not sitting here trying to say that, you know, follow my lead. But I post on everything pretty much equally. I mean, I do post more pictures on Instagram because, again, I think Instagram is a superior platform for the cigar community. I think the guys on there do an awesome job. I've got good relationships with some of the guys on there, and I think they do an awesome job at supporting each other. I don't see any cattiness or drama. If it's there, I'm immune to it or I don't see it. But I can tell you now, when you're posting Instagram links on Twitter, the guys on Twitter couldn't care less about it.
Well, and you're using them as, it's like an afterthought. The platform is literally an afterthought.
Yep.
So what is the audience on that platform going to think of it? They're going to think it's an afterthought. Screw you.
Well, and I think it's, you know, not to come down too harsh on people, I think it's a little arrogant because I think in the cigar community, another thing I was going to say that kind of ties into that is some of the cigar celebrity is self-titled. I've seen so many guys kind of brag on themselves in their posts about how good they are that I don't know they need anybody else saying it because they're saying it all the time, how good they are, how they're this or that. And
it's a game changer. Yeah,
and the thing is that on other platforms, some other platforms, they don't even care who you are because you don't interact with them. You're not, you know, they might think they're big on YouTube or big on Instagram, and when they post their link on Twitter, they're nobody on Twitter.
Yeah, and that's the other thing to understand. Outside of cigar world, your celebrity, using that term loosely, on Instagram doesn't necessarily carry over to Twitter. It doesn't necessarily carry over to Facebook. These are distinctly different beasts. And I know Instagram is under the Facebook umbrella, but it's different. I've seen a lot. I follow a lot of comedians. I follow a lot of writers. They have huge followings on one and hardly any in comparison on others. Yep. There's always a focus. There's always, and think of what, and if I could be so bold as to offer advice, if you write a lot, Twitter. If you take a lot of pictures and do video, Instagram.
Sure.
Again, know your platform. And if you're like you and you are excellent at making a presentation that involves editing, YouTube. But if I turn on to a YouTube channel and the guy is just sitting there, it can be done, is the caveat. There are people out there, I'm sure, that could just turn on a camera and they're polished and they happen to be awesome at doing a quote-unquote live review, but also kind of know if that's not your forte, if that's not your strength. Know it, you know? And
why do... Yeah,
real quick, what's wrong with a podcast? If you don't have the editing capabilities or skills, nobody asks you to turn the freaking camera on. Record it, plug it into an RSS feed, and then you have a listenable podcast.
Well, and for me, and you know, I might be part of the minority here, but for me, when I go to YouTube, I go to YouTube to be entertained, and that was part of the catalyst for me to change up how I did stuff. And again, not saying I'm anything with it. I mean, like I said, you can look at my numbers, and the numbers. You know, to a degree, the numbers speak for themselves, and I'm kind of self-deprecating there because you can look at my numbers and see. But here's the thing behind that is I go on YouTube to be entertained. So I assume that if people go on YouTube and they're looking for stuff, they want to be entertained. So that's what I try to do. Additionally with that, speaking about the numbers, you know, and this comes back from when I was in bands, and I think we've talked about this before. So many guys get hooked on the numbers, and I feel like it's a disservice to not only them, but more so the people that are watching them, that if I was in a bar or, you know, some venue and 10 or 15 people showed up, you might look at that as a defeat. I look at it as 10 or 15 people are listening to me. So I'm going to perform for those 10 or 15 people. So if I get 30 views on my video, okay, yeah, would it be nice to have hundreds of views? Sure. But you know what? The 30 people that came to watch the video, I hope they get an awesome experience from that video. And I'll keep performing for those 30 people that watch me with no problem. And I think, to some degree, that's where the giveaways irritate me, kind of going off kilter here a little bit and going back to something else you said. Sorry, and I don't want to ignore the cigar too much. It's been doing really well. You know, when you're thinking about that stuff, the giveaways are kind of to celebrate your own victory, and that's why I've looked at giveaways a little bit differently. Like the Instagram giveaway I did at 1,000, it was an announcement of the winners. I didn't have a build up to it. I didn't do anything like that. And the same with on YouTube. I just stuck it in one of my reviews because the thing that I want to avoid doing for myself is I don't want to buy people with my giveaways. And that's why anytime I do a giveaway, you'll never hear me say, and I'm not knocking anybody. This is my own personal theory and my own personal way of working. But I'm not going to announce it or say like, hey, you know, tag friends and stuff like that. And like I said, I'm not knocking. I don't want to get followers because I gave stuff away. I want to get people supporting me because they enjoy what I do. Because they're entertained by it. Right. And if that means I have a very slow climb, if I have any climb, I'll take it. Yeah. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's no small part about self-awareness. What you're good at, where you should be good at it, and how you keep on being good at it. Back to the scheduling, back to being not Cigar Snob podcast. We got to move on because of time, but it's definitely going to be something we touch on other episodes. Recommendation time. Do you have any recs? Yes. I would recommend, and a cigar I just reviewed recently, and it rated well for me, but the Stallone Habano, the Stallone Alazan Habano. Very good cigar. I'm looking forward to smoking more of their stuff. I'll be reviewing more of their stuff. So I would recommend that one. Very good. I mean, I didn't really have anything I think I could have knocked that one for. Very good cigar. Awesome. So go check that out, and I'm going to check that out too because I value your recommendations, Phil. Thank you. I'm going to go that. But let it be known that if it disappoints, I'm going to send you a bill. So, as far as my rec for this program, for this episode, it's stepping outside of what we do, but it's not stepping outside of what I do. It is a wine, but it's also going to dabble in what we do.
because it's a wine, and it's the Colossal Reserva from Casa Santos, Lima. Showing it for the YouTube folks. Is that good? There you go for the TED. But the TED, sorry, there's more than one hypothetically. Unless it's just one guy that keeps on watching you, and that's weird. That's weird.
Then I'm here for TED. me and Ted are in this
You and
together.
me, Ted.
Me and you, Ted.
It's like the end of Thelma and Louise. You and Ted riding off and holding hands. Anyway, the Colossal Reserva. And why I'm recommending it is because it's an excellent wine, but furthermore, in the context of what we're discussing here, I get asked a lot, so it's an answer to a question. We also have a question to wrap the show up with that's separate from this, but I get asked a lot, what wine pairs well with cigars and vice versa. This Colossal Reserva would pair excellent for reasons I'm not going to get into because I don't want to hijack the show, even though it's partially half my show. Is a big, bold, very structured wine that would hold up to a cigar. So if you want to pair a cigar and wine, or wine and a cigar, and I say that two different ways because you always pair one to the other. It's never even. But this will hold its own possibly either way. Again, the Colossal Reserva. Not a sponsor, but an excellent wine to enjoy a cigar with. I did say we have a question to wrap up with.
Yes, you did.
And I will also say before we delve into it that I've again forgot to put out feelers on social media for questions. This is me asking for questions. Send questions to me at capitalistsmedia@mail.com, M-A-I-L, .com, C-O-M. Anyway, I forgot, but I do get questions anyway, so I'm going to use this question on this show, even though it wasn't meant for it, and I hope they don't mind. But, and if they do, it's free entertainment, you know. But anyway, the question was from a new smoker. I'm going to, at this point, just paraphrase. It was coming from a new smoker. He's getting into what he called the hobby. Not going to go whatever, you know, whatever I consider the lifestyle. You're smoking cigars more than you were before. And he wanted to know how it is that he's on a limited income. He doesn't have a lot of spendable cash. How does he get the most bang for his buck? And I could tell you, I could tell him, I could tell you, we've already covered it, the online stuff, the whatever, the sampler packs, the subscription services. But first and foremost, what I tell everyone is smoke better, less often.
100% agree. 100% agree.
There is no need. Some guys go way heavy into it and they become the cigar guy. And if I'm a cigar guy, I have to smoke a cigar while I'm doing this. I have to smoke a cigar when I'm doing that. I have to smoke a cigar out there. I have to smoke a cigar out here. I'm the cigar guy among my circle of people. I am known far and wide as the cigar guy. You don't have to smoke several cigars a day if you can't afford it. But I would take that money and get one good cigar.
Yep.
And I guess that begs the question, how do you know it's good? Align yourself with a reviewer with a similar palate, whether it's a YouTube guy, whether it's a TikTok guy, whether it's a blogger, whether it's a podcaster. Find somebody that you have similar palate tendencies to and take their word for it because, like I like to say, not everybody could just be an internet cigar reviewer. There are gates in place. For instance, like I said before, and I get a kick out of it, I couldn't just start my blog and become a cigar blogger who reviews cigars. I first had to secure an email address so I could...
Basics. Back to basics.
So I could, I'm not sure what was funny about that. So I could, with that email address, start an account at a blog. And then I'm a blog. So it's not like anybody from off the street could just be a reviewer. And but align yourself with a reviewer and smoke, get, instead of three $5 cigars, get one $15 cigar. The good thing about the cigar, about premium cigars, is you very often, more than not, get what you pay for. If you buy a $15 cigar, it's going to be better than a $5 cigar 9.9 out of 10 times. So pay that same amount of money, budget yourself the same way, just have less cigars. Smoke good.
Right.
That's what you do.
And don't fall into the trap of, like you said, smoking several cigars a day, especially if you're a newer guy that's coming into it. Smoking several cigars a day, by the time you get to the last cigar, which is your fourth or fifth cigar, you are not getting from that cigar everything that cigar had to offer.
Right. Your palate is burnt out. And I marvel at this other question I get from, I get it like I want to say like several times a month. How do you cleanse your palate? Why are you worried about that? You're enjoying a cigar. You are a consumer who likes buying and smoking cigars. Why are you worried about chain smoking cigars and cleansing your palate in between? You're not blending cigars. You're not on a tasting panel. You're just enjoying cigars. Don't worry about cleansing your palate. You know when your palate is cleansed? When your palate is cleansed. When that cigar is no longer lingering on your palate. Then maybe think about lighting up another one. Nobody is making you sit down there and smoke cigars one after the other to the extent that you have to worry about cleansing your palate.
Yeah.
Self-aware. You're a cigar smoker. Enjoy yourself. You're not reviewing, again, you're not reviewing stuff. You're not blending stuff. You're enjoying cigars. You're not going to enjoy that cigar that you had after that first cigar if you're worried about if your palate is cleansed or not for some reason. Just don't smoke. And I probably shouldn't say that. Maybe. I don't know. But just relax. Just enjoy yourself, man.
Yep. And don't get caught up in, if somebody recommends a cigar and you're a new guy and you don't like it, don't get caught up in the fact that you were supposed to like that cigar.
And don't get bogged down in, well, maybe I could only afford a $5 cigar once a week. That's cool. Don't let people tell you, don't let the Opus X gang tell you that you're not a real cigar smoker because you're not smoking this cool cigar. You're enjoying it. You're not there to worry about keeping up with the Joneses. You're there to enjoy the cigar, whatever you could get your hands on. Smoke the best that you can.
Yep.
Right?
Good advice. Good advice. Good question.
Thank you, and thanks for the questions. And send those questions to me, and we'll answer it on the show right here on 1st and 15th.
Or for the people catching this on YouTube, if you throw them in the comments, I'll jot them down, and we'll try to fit them in the show too.
Oh, there you go. That's another way to do it.
Yep, there we go. Throw them in the comments.
I'm so not well versed with the whole YouTube thing. I should be ashamed of myself. So yeah, throw them in the comments on the show. This show is going to appear on your YouTube channel, Tommy Cigars Music. It's going to appear in podcast form at Kaplowitz Radio, Kaplowitz.xyz. And it's going to appear the 15th. This isn't as we're recording the 15th, but it will appear on the 15th. And that begs the question, the next one after it is...
This is always a confusing part of the show.
I always paint myself into a corner.
This one comes out on the 15th, right?
Hold on. Don't...
I'm trying not to rush you. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm processing. So this is going to come out on the 15th. And correct. The next first and the 15th episode will come out on...
Let's see.
Do I have a calendar on my phone?
1st and 15th. So if this comes out on the 15th, logically the next one would come out after this one.
Hey, you know what? I'm just going to wrap it up here. And I'm going to wrap it up by saying keep your shirt on. There's no need to ever be shirtless.
I'm not going to go shirtless. Because if I
go shirtless.
Yeah, if I go shirtless with my genetics, you're not going to be able to tell anyway, except there won't be print. Well, hold on. Maybe a Japanese symbol that stands for chosen one or something like that.
Yes, if I could leave you with a word of advice until the next time we're on here, I'm not sure when that'll be again, but please keep in mind one duck. One duck who keeps his shirt on.
Hey, that could
stop
be
recording now.
Well, hold on. That could be a new shirt for you. That could be part of your swag. A one duck T-shirt could be part of your swag.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I have to find the Japanese fellow, our lady, to let me know how that appears in kanji. I think I want a capitalist media kanji one duck shirt that you could wear. A shirt that should always be on. There's no need to not wear a shirt. Because there's socioeconomics at play, and I realize that, not everybody could be the herc. Not everybody is going to want to or be like the well-dressed man, the GQ guy. But do dress up a little bit for being part of our culture. It's nice. It's nice. How would that play? You're at your lounge, and some guy walks in without a shirt. Let's keep it real.
Yeah. Speaking of keeping it real, that's another YouTube thing. That's another YouTube thing that I've thought about a lot. Because for some reason, over the past couple of months, it seems like some of the reviews I do catch, a lot of people are saying how they keep it real and they only give you the truth. And
right.
It's really started coming off to me like that one guy in school or the one guy in your group of friends. It's like, hey guys, I swear I don't masturbate. I swear. And he has to keep reminding people. He has to keep reminding people of that. So every time I hear keeping it real, which I kind of, made a joke about in one of my reviews recently, every time I hear that, I just think, yeah, you're Charlie telling everybody that you don't masturbate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So just know that's what I hear when you say it. Now, if that matters to you, what I hear you don't masturbate all the time.
And what how it scans for me, and maybe I'm guilty of it. I'm sure I say honestly sometimes, or truthfully, as like amplifiers or whatever. But when it's said a certain way, it definitely scans to me like, oh, this guy's lying. He's going out of his way to tell me he's real talking. What was he doing before? Or what is he really doing? It's like going to the place. We have the lowest prices. Do you really? $6 for a pizza?
How am I going to make it rain with $6? Come on.
How am I going? Could you break my 5?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I think we should stop. I think I have a dog that's ready for us to stop over here. Frankie.
Yeah, he's made plenty of cameos. I think he knows this is going to be on video. I keep seeing Frankie jump in there.
I can't walk him anywhere without somebody saying how handsome he is.
Well, there you go. He knows he knows he's ready for YouTube.
There you go. He just needs an editor. Anyway, but who doesn't? Anyway, 1st and 15th. We don't know when it's going to air next, but
after this one.
After this one, chronologically, it will air sometimes after, because I don't know how it wouldn't, to be honest. And Frankie, I need my arm back because I'm going to stop recording. Thanks, Phil.
Hey, thanks, Cap.
Fun.